Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into the English-speaking job market today.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Think of this deep dive like your secret weapon for decoding all that tricky job hunting lingo.
I like it.
We've got some great source material lined up that's basically a crash course on everything from resumes to interviews to all that good stuff.
It's really fascinating, actually. What I found really interesting about these sources is that they don't just define the terms.
Right.
They really get into the strategy behind them, you know?
Oh, that's
It's like they've taken all the best advice from career coaches and hiring managers and distilled it all down into these really actionable tips.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
Resumes.
Oh,
Everyone's favorite topic, right?
the bane of our existence.
I know. But seriously, our source material highlights something really crucial here.
Okay.
The power of strong action verbs.
Yes.
And I don't just mean like using managed instead of did. It's about getting way more specific and impactful with your word choices.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about thinking about, okay, if you are a software developer, instead of saying developed a website, you could say led a team of 5 to develop a user-friendly website that increased customer engagement by 20%.
Whoa.
See the difference?
Okay, yeah. That's way more powerful.
Right.
It's not just about what you did.
Yeah,
It's about the impact you made.
exactly. And that's what employers want to see results. So I have a challenge for everyone listening.
Ooh, I like a challenge.
Pull up your own resume.
Okay.
Take a look at those verbs.
All right, I'm doing it right now.
Are they doing your skills justice?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Could you swap them out for something stronger, something that really showcases your accomplishments?
I love that little homework assignment.
There you go.
All right, so you've got your resume packed with power verbs.
Check.
Now you need a cover letter to really seal the deal.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of people get stuck. But our source material breaks down the purpose and structure in a way that's super clear and actually kind of inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what I found really interesting here is that the source emphasizes how a cover letter is your chance to show your personality.
Okay.
Your resume is all facts and figures, but the cover letter is where you can let your passion and enthusiasm shine through. It's where you connect with the employer on a human level.
So it's not just a summary of your resume.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mini story about why you're the perfect fit
Precisely.
for this specific role.
Yes. And you know what else I found really helpful?
What's that?
The source material talks about the importance of the call to action in the closing paragraph.
Oh,
It's not just about saying thanks for your time.
yeah.
It's about proactively expressing your eagerness to move forward in the process.
Okay, it's just like, hey, I'm ready for that interview. Let's do this.
Exactly.
Okay, I've got the killer resume and a compelling cover letter.
We're doing good.
Now we need to find the right jobs to apply for.
All right, the fun part.
Yeah. So our source material dives into decoding job postings,
Okay.
like how to read between the lines and figure out what employers are really looking for.
Yes, and this is where things get strategic.
Ooh, I like it.
The source material gives this great tip about using keywords from the job posting to tailor your resume and cover letter.
Oh, that's smart.
It's about speaking their language, showing them that you understand their needs and that you've done your homework.
It makes sense if you're an employer and you see a resume that's clearly tailored to your specific job posting, shows that the applicant is serious and invested.
Absolutely. And it's not just about keywords.
Okay.
It's about understanding the underlying problems that the company's trying to solve. What are their pain points?
Right.
How can your skills and experience help them overcome those challenges?
Ooh.
If you can articulate that
Yeah,
in your application materials, you'll definitely stand out.
that's such a good point. Okay, let's move on to some of the more foundational elements
Yes.
of the job application process.
Okay.
Qualifications, experience, and references.
The classics.
I know our source material covers the basics here, but it also includes a really important insider tip about references
Oh, yes.
that I think a lot of people overlook.
This is one of those things that seems obvious, but it's crucial.
Oh, really?
Always get permission before listing someone as a reference.
Oh.
Not only is it common courtesy,
Okay.
but it also gives your reference a chance to prepare
Oh, that's good.
and make sure they're comfortable speaking about your qualifications.
Yeah, you don't want to catch someone off guard
Exactly.
and potentially like sabotage your chances.
Right. It's much better to have a few enthusiastic references who are ready to sing your praises
Yes.
than a long list of people who are hesitant or unprepared.
Okay, so you've submitted your application
Fingers crossed.
and you get the call for an interview.
Yay.
Exciting but nerve-wracking, right?
Oh, for sure.
Our source material acknowledges this and really emphasizes the importance of preparation.
Absolutely.
And they offer some really practical advice
Okay.
for tackling one of the most common interview questions.
Which is?
Tell me about yourself.
Oh,
I know this is where so many people stumble,
I know I do.
but it's actually a golden opportunity to make a strong first impression.
It is.
Yeah, I always find myself like fumbling through that one.
Me too.
So what's the secret?
The key is to craft a concise and engaging response that highlights your relevant skills and experience.
Okay.
And then this is the crucial part, connects them back to the specific role you're interviewing for. You're not just reciting your resume.
Right.
You're telling a story that demonstrates why you're the perfect fit for this particular job.
It's like you're saying, here's who I am, here's what I'm good at, and here's how I can contribute to your team.
Exactly.
I like it.
And you know what else I found helpful?
Tell me.
The source material suggests practicing your response out loud,
Oh?
even recording yourself,
Ooh, that's a good idea.
so you can hear how you sound.
Yeah.
You want to come across as confident and enthusiastic,
Right.
not robotic or rehearsed.
That's such good advice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people focus on what they're going to say, but forget about how they're going to say it.
Totally. And remember, an interview is a two-way street.
That's true.
It's not just about answering their questions. It's about asking your own questions.
Right.
To get a feel for the company culture
Yeah.
and whether it's a good fit for you.
That's a great reminder.
So we've talked about resumes, cover letters, and interviews.
We are on a roll.
Now let's dive into the world of networking.
All right, let's do it.
Our source material defines it as building relationships to discover job opportunities.
Okay.
It's about making connections and expanding your professional circle.
I like that.
But what's really interesting here is that the source goes beyond the traditional idea of networking.
Okay.
At formal events,
Right.
they talk about the importance of building relationships online.
Oh, like LinkedIn.
Exactly, through platforms like LinkedIn and even through casual conversations with people in your field.
Wow. I love that. It's like networking doesn't have to be this stuffy, formal thing.
Yeah,
It can happen organically through genuine interactions.
absolutely. And, you know, sometimes the most unexpected connections can lead to the most amazing opportunities.
That's so true. Okay, before we move on, I want to touch on a topic
Yes.
that's often a bit awkward.
Uh-oh.
Perks and pay.
The money talk.
I know it's important to be prepared to discuss salary expectations
Yes,
during the interview process.
it is.
But how do you even approach that conversation?
Well, our source material has some excellent advice on this.
Okay, good.
It emphasizes the importance of researching average salaries
Okay,
for similar roles in your location.
that makes sense.
Knowledge is power when it comes to negotiation.
Right.
You need to know your worth and be able to articulate it confidently.
You don't want to undersell yourself or price yourself out of the run.
Exactly. And it's not just about salary.
Oh.
It's about understanding the entire compensation package, benefits, vacation time, professional development opportunities.
All that good stuff.
All of it.
Okay, this is all great information.
I know, right?
But I'm curious, what about different work styles?
Oh, yeah.
Full-time, part-time, freelance contract work.
It's a whole new world out there.
There's so many options these days.
You're absolutely right. And our source material actually does a fantastic job of breaking down these different work styles.
Okay.
And encouraging you to think about which one aligns best with your lifestyle and career goals.
That's so important. There's
Yeah.
no one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. It's about finding the work style that allows you to thrive both professionally and personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's really fascinating is that the traditional 9-to-5 office job
Yeah,
is becoming less and less common.
it's true.
More and more people are opting for remote work, flexible schedules, and even starting their own businesses.
I love to see it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
We've talked about crafting a powerful resume,
Check.
writing a compelling cover letter,
Sure.
acing that interview,
Check.
networking like a pro,
Check.
and even navigating the tricky waters of salary negotiation and work style options.
We did it.
But there's so much more to explore.
I know in part 2, we're going to dive even deeper into the English-speaking job market.
Ooh, exciting.
We'll tackle those subtle but oh so important workplace dynamics,
Okay.
cultural nuances, and communication styles that can really make or break your success.
Can't wait. Welcome back. So we just finished talking about finding the right work style.
Yeah.
But you know, Actually landing the job is just the first step.
Right.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of what it's like to navigate the English-speaking workplace.
Okay.
And I gotta say, some of these source materials are giving me flashbacks
Really?
to my first office job.
Ooh.
Good times, mostly.
That's good.
It's like there's this whole hidden curriculum
Totally.
that no one tells you about.
Right.
You learn the job description, sure.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole other layer of workplace culture, unspoken rules, communication styles.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a lot to figure out.
Totally. And our sources don't just skim the surface here.
No.
They get into some really interesting and sometimes awkward aspects of office life.
Okay. Give me an example.
Okay, like, remember that whole thing about probation periods? I always thought that was just paperwork stuff.
Right. But the source material we have really digs into the strategy behind it.
Okay.
It points out that probation periods are a chance for both the employer and the employee to assess if it's a good fit.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's not just about keeping your head down and doing your work, It's about actively demonstrating your value and exceeding expectations.
Okay, that's a good spin on it.
Yeah.
View it as a proving ground.
Not just a waiting period.
Exactly.
Speaking of proving yourself, our sources also cover job descriptions,
Okay.
but in a way I hadn't really thought of before.
What's that?
What I found fascinating here is they emphasize how job descriptions are often just the starting point.
Oh, interesting.
As you settle into a role,
Yeah.
your responsibilities might evolve.
Right.
You might take on new projects or even find yourself collaborating with different teams.
Ooh.
So it's not about being confined by that job description,
Okay.
but being open to growth and taking on new challenges.
Exactly. And the sources even tie this back to the idea of promotions, suggesting that going above and beyond your initial job description can actually position you really well for advancement.
Okay, so it's like always be looking for ways to add value.
Yes.
Even if it's outside the strict lines of your job description.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that with, you know, not burning yourself out?
Right. That's important.
Yeah. Our sources talk a lot about work-life balance.
Yes.
Which feels super relevant these days.
It is. It's a hot topic, and the sources highlight that it's not just about clocking out at 5 p.m. either.
Right.
It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing your well-being, and making sure you have time for things you enjoy outside of work.
You know, I think it's also about recognizing that everyone's definition of balance is different.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
That's a great point. And the sources actually suggest having open conversations with your manager or team about your individual needs and preferences.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance that works for both you and the company.
Okay, so we've talked about navigating your role within a company.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the people and, dare I say, the drama. I mean, our sources get real about office politics.
It's one of those topics people kind of dance around, but it's definitely a reality in most workplaces. What I found really helpful is that the sources break down office politics into a few key elements.
Like what?
Well, they talk about understanding the informal networks and relationships within the company. Who are the key influencers? Who are the decision makers? And how do those dynamics actually play out?
So it's not about being gossipy or manipulative.
No.
It's about being aware of the power structures.
Right.
And navigating them in a way that's both ethical and effective.
Exactly. And it also ties back to something we talked about earlier. Networking, the stronger your relationships are within the company, the better equipped you'll be to navigate those sometimes choppy political waters.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of navigating, our sources also get into something that can be really tricky. Especially in a globalized world, and that's cultural nuances.
Right, like what flies in one culture might be a major faux pas in another.
Exactly. This is where things get really interesting.
The sources don't just provide a list of do's and don'ts.
Right.
They encourage you to approach cultural differences with curiosity and respect.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like instead of assuming you know what's appropriate, ask questions, observe how others interact.
Right.
And be willing to adapt your communication style.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding offense. It's about building trust and understanding across cultural boundaries.
Okay, so we've talked about navigating office politics.
Yes.
And cultural nuances.
We have.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of communication itself.
All right.
Our sources are full of vocabulary related to
workplace conversations, meetings, and emails.
It's a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
What's interesting is they don't just define the terms.
Okay.
They give you tips for using them effectively.
Ooh.
Like, for example, they talk about the importance of active listening
Yes.
in meetings.
It's so important.
It's not just about hearing what's being said. It's about engaging with the ideas, asking clarifying questions, and really demonstrating that you're paying attention.
Right. So like nodding and saying, every once in a while
Yeah.
isn't going to cut it.
Not exactly.
Active listening is about being present and engaged, both verbally and non-verbally.
Okay.
It's about making eye contact, taking notes,
Right.
and even summarizing what you've heard to make sure you understand correctly.
Got it. Active listening.
Check.
What else do we need to know about communication?
Well, the sources also talk about the importance of giving and receiving feedback effectively.
Okay, feedback.
It's not just about praising good work or pointing out mistakes. It's about providing constructive criticism
Right.
that helps people grow and develop.
Okay, I think we all know how important that is,
Yes.
but it can be so tricky to do well.
It is, and the sources acknowledge that they recommend focusing on specific behaviors, not personality traits,
Okay.
and framing feedback in a way that's solution-oriented.
So it's not about blaming or shaming.
Yeah.
It's about helping people improve.
Exactly.
That's a really good distinction, and I think it ties into the whole idea of creating a positive and supportive work environment,
Yeah,
which, let's be honest, can be tough sometimes.
it can, but our sources have some great insights.
Oh, good.
On fostering a healthy workplace culture. They talk about the importance of clear communication,
Okay.
mutual respect, and a sense of shared purpose.
So, like, it's not just about being friendly.
Right.
It's about creating a space where everyone feels valued and respected,
Yeah.
and where they can contribute their best work.
Exactly. And it also ties into something we touched on earlier,
What's that?
teamwork. The sources really emphasize the importance of collaboration,
Okay.
both within teams and across departments.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something valuable to contribute, and that working together is essential for achieving shared goals.
Right. So we've talked about navigating workplace dynamics,
Yes.
cultural
Yeah.
nuances, communication styles, feedback, and teamwork. Is there anything else we need to know before we venture out into the wilds
Oh, I like that.
of the English-speaking workplace?
Well, there's one more topic our sources highlight that I think is really important, and that's mentorship.
Okay. Mentorship.
They emphasize the value of having a more experienced person
Yeah.
who can offer guidance, support, and insights as you navigate your career.
I've heard about that, but I always thought it was something you had to, like, formally apply for.
It can be, but the sources suggest that mentorship can also happen organically
Oh, okay.
through relationships you build within your company or even within your professional network.
So it's like, be open to learning from people who have more experience than you.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask for advice or guidance.
Exactly. And it goes both ways.
Oh, that's a good point.
As you gain experience, you can also mentor others and share your knowledge and insights.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part.
We have.
We've talked about navigating workplace dynamics, cultural nuances, communication styles, feedback, teamwork, and even mentorship.
We're really getting into the nuances of what it takes to thrive
I know.
in the English-speaking job market.
We are.
But there's still more to explore in part 3. We're going to dive even deeper into those sometimes unspoken rules of workplace etiquette,
Ooh.
those subtle but oh so important cues
Yeah,
that can make all the difference in how you're perceived.
can't wait.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the English-speaking job market.
Ooh, the grand finale.
I know we've covered so much ground already. Resumes, interviews, networking, office dynamics, you name it.
All the things.
But there's one last layer we need to explore,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
and it's all about those unspoken rules
Oh,
of workplace etiquette.
the do's and don'ts.
Exactly, because let's be honest, sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference.
It's true.
And our source material gets in some really interesting nuances here,
Okay.
especially around email etiquette.
Oh yeah, email, the double-edged sword of workplace communication.
You can say that again.
It's so convenient, but it's also so easy to make a mistake
Right.
that can damage your professional image.
So true. I remember this one time I accidentally replied all to an email that was, let's just say, not meant for everyone's eyes.
Oof, we've all been there.
Not my proudest moment.
But the good news is
Our
sources offer some really helpful tips for avoiding those email faux pas.
Okay, good.
Like, for example, they emphasize the importance of starting with a professional salutation.
Right.
Dear Mr. or Mrs. last name is always a safe bet.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a first name basis with the person.
Right. And even then, it's probably best to err on the side of formality,
Yeah.
at least until you get a sense of the company culture.
Exactly. And the sources also talk about keeping your emails concise and to the point. No one wants to wade through a wall of text.
So like bullet points are our friends.
Absolutely. And avoid using slang,
Great.
emojis, or excessive exclamation points.
Voted.
You want to project an image of competence and professionalism.
And proofread.
Yes.
Typos and grammatical errors
The worst.
can make you look careless and unprofessional.
So true. Okay, so we've mastered the art of email.
We're on a roll.
Now let's talk about another potential minefield.
Okay.
Meeting etiquette.
Ooh, yes. Meetings, love them or hate them, they're a part of almost every job.
It's true.
And our sources highlight some key things to keep in mind,
Like what?
like punctuality.
Yes.
Arriving on time shows respect for everyone's time and demonstrates your professionalism.
And I think it also shows that you're organized and prepared, which is always a good look.
Right. And once you're in the meeting,
Yeah.
the sources emphasize the importance of active participation.
Okay.
Contribute to the discussion, ask clarifying questions, and offer your insights
Yes.
when appropriate.
But also know when to listen.
Yeah.
Don't dominate the conversation or interrupt others.
It's all about balance.
It's about finding that balance between being engaged and being respectful of others.
And one more thing, put those phones away.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're expecting an urgent call, it's incredibly disrespectful
It is.
to be scrolling through social media or texting during a meeting.
It's like you're saying, I'm not really interested in what you have to say.
Okay, so we've talked about email etiquette and meeting etiquette.
check.
Now let's get into something a little more juicy.
Ooh, tell me more.
Our sources actually touch on the topic of workplace gossip.
Ah, yes, the water cooler whispers. It's inevitable in any workplace.
It really is.
But it's definitely something to navigate carefully.
Because even if you're not the one spreading the gossip,
Yeah,
just listening to it can make you complicit.
that's true. And the sources recommend resisting the temptation to engage.
Okay.
In negative gossip, it can damage relationships and create a toxic work environment.
Instead, try to steer the conversation
Yes.
towards more positive topics. Or, if you feel uncomfortable, politely excuse yourself.
And remember, what you say about others reflects on you. It's always best to err on the side of discretion and kindness.
Okay, gossip averted.
He did it.
Now let's talk about something that's essential for success
Yeah.
in any workplace, but especially in an English-speaking environment. Conflict resolution.
Oh, this is where those communication skills we talked about earlier really come into play.
Yeah.
The sources emphasize approaching conflict with a calm and respectful attitude.
Because getting defensive or emotional is only going to escalate the situation.
Exactly. The key is to listen actively to the other person's perspective. Try to find common ground.
Okay.
And focus on finding a solution that benefits everyone involved.
Avoid personal attacks.
Right.
And emotional outbursts.
Yes.
Remember, it's about addressing the issue, not the person.
And if you can't resolve the conflict on your own,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to involve a neutral third party like a manager or HR representative.
Okay, conflict resolved. We're on a roll.
I know, right?
Now let's touch on one final, but incredibly important
Hit me with it.
aspect of workplace etiquette,
All right.
cultural sensitivity.
This is especially crucial in today's diverse workplaces.
Yeah.
It's about being aware and respectful of different cultural norms, values, and communication styles.
Like, for example, in some cultures, direct eye contact is considered a sign of respect, while in others it can be seen as aggressive or confrontational.
Exactly. And there are so many other nuances to be aware of personal space humor, even the way you give and receive gifts.
So it's really about being mindful, doing
Yeah.
your research, and being willing to adapt your behavior to different cultural contexts.
And if you're ever unsure about something, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
It's better to clarify than to unintentionally offend someone.
That's a great point. Cultural sensitivity is really about fostering an inclusive and respectful work environment
Absolutely.
where everyone feels valued and respected.
Wow, we've covered a ton of ground
We really have,
in this deep dive.
from crafting that perfect resume.
When mastering the art of workplace etiquette,
We've given you a comprehensive toolkit for navigating the English-speaking job market.
we did it.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
So true.
Stay curious, keep learning, And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes. And most importantly, believe in yourself and your abilities.
Now, before we sign off, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of the most interesting or confusing workplace scenarios you've encountered?
Ooh, good question.
Share your stories and insights with us. We're all ears.
Until next time, happy job hunting. All right. Ready to unlock some serious word power?
Oh, yeah?
We're taking a deep dive
Absolutely.
into 15 words
Okay.
that can make your English seriously sing.
Mhm.
Think Shakespeare,
Uh-huh.
but way less frilly collar, you know?
Right, not stuffy.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretentious at all.
No, not at all. These are words that once you know them,
Yeah,
you can really use them to make your communication better,
it's true.
more interesting.
Mhm.
So our source material is an article. It's called 15 Words for Outstanding English.
Okay,
But we're going to go deeper than that, right?
absolutely.
We're going to figure out how to really use these words.
Mhm.
So first up is perspicacious.
Mm.
They describe it as insightful, perceptive,
Mhm.
like a detective
Yeah.
cracking a case wide open.
I like that.
But what makes this more than just,
Right.
smart?
Being smart.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's that ability to see what others miss.
Okay.
So a perspicacious person doesn't just gather the information,
Yeah.
connect the dots. They really understand
Right.
the why
Oh, okay.
behind the what.
I see. So it's not just about
Yeah.
noticing stuff. It's about...
It's with the insight, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Think about, a leader who can predict market trends or something.
Ooh, or a friend.
Yeah.
Who just gives amazing advice.
Yeah, like really on point
Right.
advice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's way more interesting than just being observant, like you said.
Yeah. Insightful is really the key here.
The article gives the example.
Mm.
Her perspicacious comments during the meeting showed her deep understanding of the project.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like someone who's about to get a promotion.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly. And it's not just about business.
Yeah.
It's relevant in any field. I mean,
For sure.
a perspicacious historian can reframe our view of the past. A perspicacious artist
Yeah.
picks up on those subtle emotions
I see.
we might not even realize we're
Right.
expressing.
Yeah.
It's really powerful stuff.
Okay. All right. Now
Yeah.
this next word, obfuscate.
Ooh. Obfuscate.
This one sounds a little more like villainous, right?
Sure.
Like a bad guy.
A little bit sneaky.
Yeah.
The obfuscate is to deliberately make something unclear,
Okay.
muddy the waters,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
The article's example talks about like a lawyer trying to
Oh, yeah.
obfuscate the facts to confuse a jury.
Right. It's almost like a verbal smokescreen
Yeah.
just to kind of throw people off.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's not always about being like intentionally deceptive.
Good point.
Is it?
No, sometimes people
Yeah.
obfuscate without realizing it.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever been stuck listening to someone explain something simple in the most complicated way possible?
Yes.
They might be unintentionally obfuscating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the key here is to be aware of when we're doing it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that person in the meeting. So how about something a little lighter?
Okay. Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
This one feels very relevant to our world right now. It does. Like the modern world.
It means found everywhere.
Okay.
Literally.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
I like it.
The article talks about
Okay.
the ubiquitous smell of coffee in Paris,
Ooh.
which
For anyone who's been, it's spot on.
spot on.
But think beyond the physical.
Yeah.
Like what's ubiquitous?
Yeah, what's
Your world.
ubiquitous in your world right
Oh,
now?
easy. Social media trends.
Ooh, yes.
They pop up.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about them. Then poof,
Gone.
replaced by the next big thing.
They're so fleeting.
It's fascinating and exhausting all at once.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that
I'm
fleeting nature,
Yeah.
that's key to understanding ephemeral.
Yeah.
Our next word.
okay.
It's about things that are
Yeah.
beautiful, but temporary.
I like that.
Like
Yeah.
cherry blossoms in
It's
bloom.
Beautiful. Or viral trends, as you said.
Yeah, exactly.
The article says the beauty of the cherry blossoms is ephemeral, lasting only a week.
I know.
It makes you realize, like, how precious those moments are.
It's true.
Like, you really have to
yeah,
be present, knowing it's not going to last forever.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to
Sure.
more than just tangible things.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings can be ephemeral too.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
that rush of excitement when you start a new project,
Yeah.
or even the kind of bittersweet nostalgia of remembering childhood summers.
Ooh, deep thoughts happening over here.
I know, right?
Now, I gotta admit,
Okay.
discombobulate is just plain fun to say.
Discombobulate.
It sounds like
Uh-huh.
what happens after one too many spins on a merry-go-round.
It does, doesn't it? It does, yeah.
The dictionary definition is to confuse
Mm-hmm.
or bewilder,
Right.
but there's almost a playful clumsiness to it
I agree.
that I kind of like.
I like that too.
The article uses the example of being discombobulated by like a tough interview question,
Uh-huh.
which, I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, we've all been there.
But wouldn't you say there's a difference between being discombobulated and being straight up panicked?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because discombobulation is more of a temporary state of like, what just happened? It's like your brain needs a moment to catch up.
Yeah. So it's not always a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Sometimes a little discombobulation can be invigorating.
Perhaps, yeah.
Right.
It can
Yeah.
shake us out of our routine, force us to think differently.
Oh, I like that.
And that leads us perfectly into
Yeah.
our next word,
Okay.
which embodies this idea
Right.
of surprise in a very positive way.
Ooh. Okay.
Serendipity.
Ooh, serendipity. I love that word.
It's a good one.
It's like stumbling on a hidden treasure when you least expect it.
You got it.
The article talks about
Wow.
the serendipity of like finding a beautiful spot while hiking.
Okay, yeah.
But it can be so much more than that, right?
It can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Serendipity is about those lucky coincidences that shape our lives in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
Meeting a future partner, discovering a new passion.
Mm-hmm.
Those moments where it feels like the universe is conspiring in your favor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think what makes serendipity so delightful is that we can't control it.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And we get to enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Speaking of enjoying the ride,
Okay.
let's talk about voracious.
Ooh, voracious.
It's a word often associated with reading,
Right.
but it applies to anything we approach with, like intense enthusiasm.
That's right.
The article gives the example of someone who's a voracious reader, finishing 3 books a week.
Wow.
I admire that kind of dedication.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say voracious goes beyond just
I think so.
quantity?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's about that hunger, that intense desire to consume and experience whatever it is you're passionate about.
Yeah. Whether it's
knowledge, travel.
right, or even dare I say podcasts.
Maybe.
Right.
Podcast.
Now, wouldn't that be a compliment?
That would
To be known as a voracious listener
a voracious listener.
of the deep dive.
Of the deep dive. That's what we want. That's right.
Okay.
So, speaking of aspirations,
Yes.
let's talk about eloquent.
Ooh, eloquent.
Yeah. This word kind of embodies the ideal of
Yeah.
expressing oneself beautifully and persuasively.
The article uses the example of like a speech so eloquent it moves the audience to tears.
Okay.
But it's not just about grand gestures, right?
Right.
Can't everyday conversations be eloquent?
You can. Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Because eloquence isn't about flowery language or
Okay.
trying to sound smart.
Right.
It's about choosing your words carefully
Yeah.
to convey your meaning with
Yeah.
clarity and passion, maybe even a touch of poetry.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's about being intentional
It is,
with our language,
even in casual.
settings.
Yeah, that's something I think we can all work on.
We can all work on that.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. And as we become more eloquent, we open up new possibilities
Right.
for connection, understanding,
Yeah.
even, dare I say, a touch of magic
Ooh.
in our everyday lives.
I like where this is going.
I know, right?
And luckily, we have even more words to uncover.
We do.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Because in the next part of our deep dive,
Right.
we'll be exploring words that delve into
Okay.
the complexities of human nature,
Okay.
emotions,
Yeah.
maybe even a few paradoxes
Ooh, paradoxes.
along the way.
I'm excited.
So stick around. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's amazing.
We're knee-deep in fascinating words here,
I know, right?
exploring how they can help us communicate better.
Absolutely.
And now I'm ready to tackle some of these words that deal with,
Okay.
shall we say, less flattering
Yeah.
aspects of human nature. All right, let's do it.
Up first, we have sycophant.
Ah, yes, the flatterer. The yes man, the person who praises insincerely to gain favor.
Right.
The article says a sycophant might tell you your new haircut looks great, even if they secretly think it's a disaster.
Yeah, that's rough.
I know.
But isn't there a fine line between being polite and being a sycophant?
Yeah.
Like, what if I genuinely do like your new haircut?
It's all about intention.
Okay.
A sincere compliment comes from a place of genuine appreciation.
Right.
Sycophancy is all about manipulation,
Oh, okay.
about saying what you think someone wants to hear to get something in return.
So it's about being aware
Yeah.
of those underlying motives.
Exactly.
Are we trying to build someone up, or are we just trying to butter them up?
Exactly. Butter them up.
And speaking of
Okay.
being aware of underlying motives, our next word is a bit of a head scratcher. Paradoxical.
Paradoxical.
It refers to those situations that seem contradictory,
Yeah.
but might actually contain a hidden truth.
Oh, interesting.
The example they use is, it's paradoxical that the more connected we are online, the lonelier some people feel.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, how can those two things coexist?
That's the beauty of a paradox.
Right.
It forces us to question our assumptions and dig deeper.
Okay.
On the surface, constant connection should mean
Right.
less loneliness,
Right.
but maybe it's the quality, not the quantity of those connections that matters most.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's like having 1,000 Facebook friends,
Right.
but still feeling like you have no one to call when you're down.
Exactly. And that leads us to a word that describes a potential solution
Okay.
to that feeling of isolation. Cathartic.
Oh, cathartic.
It's about releasing pent-up emotions
Right.
in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Think of crying during a sad movie
Uh-huh.
or writing in a journal.
Right. The article mentions that writing in a journal every night was a cathartic experience for someone.
It's like purging those emotions onto the page so they don't stay bottled up inside.
Yeah, and catharsis can come from any activity, right, that allows us to
Absolutely.
process and release those emotions.
It could be dancing, singing, creating art, even having a heart-to-heart conversation with a trusted friend.
It's like giving ourselves permission
Yeah.
to feel those feelings fully so we can move through them
Yeah.
and come out the other side.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes what helps us move through those feelings is the realization that we're not alone.
Oh, okay.
And that's where our next word comes in.
All right.
Myriad.
Myriad, okay.
It signifies an abundance, a vast number of something.
Right.
The example the article gives is there are myriad reasons why climate change needs immediate attention. Wow. It really underscores the urgency and the complexity of the issue.
But myriad can also be used in a more
personal way.
Yeah,
Think of the myriad experiences that shape us, the myriad choices we make each day, the myriad people whose lives intersect with our own.
It makes you realize like how interconnected we all are. And maybe that's a comforting thought, knowing we're all navigating this vast, complex world together.
Right.
Speaking of navigating the world,
Okay.
let's talk about a word that embodies the essence of something.
Right.
Quintessential.
Quintessential?
It's like capturing the soul of something in its purest form.
That's right.
The article mentions, a dish being the quintessential Italian meal.
Right. But how do we apply that?
Right. Exactly. How do we
say more abstract?
Yeah, like a personality trait.
Like a personality trait.
Yeah.
Think of someone you'd consider the quintessential optimist.
Okay.
They radiate positivity, always see the silver lining,
Right.
lift everyone's spirits.
Right.
They embody the very essence of optimism.
So it's about identifying those core qualities that define something.
Exactly. A person, a place, or even an idea.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Right.
And that brings us to a word that describes a a quality I think we could all use a little more of in the world. Magnanimous.
Magnanimous.
It's about being generous, forgiving, and rising above pettiness.
I like that.
Especially when you have the upper hand.
Especially when you have the upper hand.
The article talks about a magnanimous gesture of, like, donating winnings to charity.
Right.
It's about acting with kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
Even when you don't have to.
Even when you don't have to, that's right.
It's a powerful word.
It is.
Because it suggests, like, certain nobility of spirit.
Think of a leader who, even after winning a hard-fought election, extends an olive branch to their opponent.
Ooh, that's good.
Or a friend who forgives a betrayal and moves forward with grace.
Okay, that's a high bar.
It is a high bar.
But I love the idea of, like, striving for that level of magnanimity.
Absolutely.
In our interactions with others.
In our everyday lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, we come to a word that I think perfectly encapsulates the human experience.
Right.
Ineffable.
Ineffable.
Yeah.
This one always gives me chills.
I know, right?
It's about those moments
that are so powerful, so profound that words just can't do them justice.
Right.
The article mentions the ineffable beauty of the Northern Lights.
Yes.
Like,
it's about those experiences that touch us on a soul level.
Yeah.
That feeling of awe when gazing at the stars.
Right.
The overwhelming love for a child.
Yeah.
The deep grief of losing someone dear.
It's like our language, as vast as it is, sometimes reaches its limits.
It does.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe that's okay.
Maybe some things are meant to be felt rather than explained.
Yeah, perhaps that's the ultimate lesson here. Language is a powerful tool, but it's not the only tool we have for connecting with the world and each other.
Okay, I'm feeling all introspective now.
A little bit.
But before we get too lost in the ineffable, we have one last word to tackle.
We do.
In our next segment. It's a word that's often used to describe those who possess outstanding English.
Right.
But it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Ooh, a double-edged sword.
Stay tuned to find out what it is. Welcome back to the Deep Dive, word nerds. We've journeyed through words for perceptiveness, fleeting beauty, and even those tricky paradoxes of human nature.
Oh, yeah.
And now for our final word.
Okay.
We're tackling one that's often used to describe those who have, like, a mastery of language.
Okay.
Articulate.
Articulate. It's a word that carries a certain weight, doesn't it?
It does.
To be articulate is to express oneself clearly and effectively, whether through spoken or written word.
The article highlights how someone's articulate arguments can, like, sway a debate.
Okay, yeah.
But it also mentions that the word can be used to subtly reinforce societal biases.
That's an important point to consider.
Right.
Who gets praised for being articulate? And who gets dismissed or overlooked? It's not always about who has the best ideas, but about who has the power and privilege to be heard.
So while articulate can be a compliment, it's important to be aware of the context.
The context.
And the potential biases at play.
Right, exactly.
It's like we've been saying throughout this whole deep dive. Words have power.
They do.
And how we use them matters.
And how we use them matters. It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've explored 15 words today.
We have.
Each with its own unique shade of meaning and potential impact.
Right.
But the real takeaway isn't about memorizing definitions.
No.
It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional,
Yeah.
more artful in how we use language.
It's like we've been given this new set of tools, and now it's up to us to use them wisely.
Wisely, yes.
To build bridges.
To build bridges.
Rather than walls.
Yes.
To express ourselves authentically.
Authentically.
And to listen deeply.
To the voices of others.
Deeply, that's right.
And maybe, just maybe, as we become more skilled with words, we can create a world where everyone has the opportunity to be heard.
To be heard.
Understood. Understood.
And valued.
And valued.
For the unique perspectives
absolutely
they bring to the conversation.
That's a beautiful thought to end on.
It is. It is.
So to our listeners out there,
yes,
what are your takeaways from this deep dive?
What really resonated with you? Which words resonated with you the most? And how do you plan to use them?
How are you going to use them?
In your own life.
Yeah, we encourage you to keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep questioning.
Keep playing.
And keep playing with language.
Yes.
Because the more we understand the power of words, the better equipped we are to use them for good.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a few new favorite words.
Some new favorites.
Along the way.
Along the way, hit us up on social media.
Yes.
Share your thoughts, your stories.
Let us know.
Your word nerd adventures.
Yes, we want to hear it all.
Until next time.
Keep those words flowing.
Keep those words flowing.
All right, so are you ready to really level up those conversation skills? Today, we're going to dive deep into how to start conversations. You know, the kind that don't just fizzle out after, just a couple of awkward exchanges.
Right.
And so get our source today. It gives you 25 questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But these aren't your typical, small talk questions.
Okay.
They're designed to help you really connect with people, on a deeper level.
Okay. So not just how's the weather?
Exactly. Whether you're at, networking event or a party, or even just, chatting with someone new at the coffee shop.
I really like how our source today breaks these questions down into 5 categories.
Oh, yeah.
It's like having a roadmap, for all these different conversational situations.
I like that, a roadmap.
Yeah, so you've got your general questions. Those are perfect for the initial icebreakers.
Uh-huh.
And then there are ones specifically for social settings, travel, and hobbies, work, or school, and even fun personal preferences.
Okay, I totally get the whole categorization thing.
Right.
But how does asking someone about their favorite hobby actually lead to a deeper connection?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions with these kinds of questions.
Oh, I totally hear you.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Instead of asking a closed-ended question do you have any hobbies?
Right.
Which, you'll probably just get a yes or no.
Yeah.
You could ask something like, what project are you most excited about right now?
Ooh.
And suddenly you're not just asking about hobbies.
Yeah.
You're inviting them to share what they're passionate about.
Oh.
And that's where the magic happens.
I like that it's shifting from a checklist to uncovering what makes someone tick. Yeah. And I guess the different categories help you tailor your approach depending on the situation, right?
Exactly. So let's say you're at a networking event.
Okay.
You could try a question from the work or school category, what's the most interesting challenge you faced in your work recently? It's way more engaging than just asking, what do you do?
What's funny is I actually tried that question at a networking event last week.
Oh, yeah.
And the person I was talking to, they totally lit up. They told me this whole story about a project they were working on.
Oh, wow.
And it turned into a really fascinating conversation. We even ended up exchanging contact info.
See?
Yeah.
It works.
It really does.
It's all about, finding those subtle ways to unlock deeper conversations.
Right.
And our source emphasizes that it's not just about the questions themselves.
Right.
It's about how you deliver them.
Oh, right. The source talks about smiling, being friendly, and most importantly, not worrying about making mistakes. Yeah. I think that's something we all struggle with.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in new situations,
Right.
We get so caught up in trying to sound perfect that we forget to just be ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's such a crucial point. It's not about flawless execution.
Yeah.
It's about genuine connection.
Right.
People can tell when you're genuinely interested, even if you stumble over your words a bit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like that saying, people might forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Right.
I think that totally applies to conversations too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a welcoming space, where people feel like they can open up.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of opening up, the source also talks about the power of open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious, do you have a favorite example from those 25 questions that really shows this?
Let me think.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that pops into my mind is, what's your dream destination?
Okay.
It's from the travel and hobbies category.
Yeah.
But I think it goes way beyond just travel. It gets at people's hopes and dreams, their sense of adventure.
I see what you mean.
It can spark a conversation about what truly excites them.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not just about where they want to go on vacation. It's like a window into their inner world.
Exactly.
And you could adapt that to other areas too, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's a skill you'd love to learn someday?
Exactly. It invites them to share something they might not normally talk about.
Yeah, I feel like I get stuck asking the same old questions sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how's your weekend? Or what are you working on? It's like I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
And the conversation never goes anywhere interesting.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall back on those default questions, especially when you're feeling nervous.
Right.
But what I love about this source is that it gives you a way to break out of that rut.
Yeah.
To think more carefully about your questions and what you really want to learn about the other person.
So true. It's not about like memorizing a script or something. It's about having a strategy.
Exactly.
Oh, and the source also mentions active listening.
Yes.
What does that mean to you, like when you're starting conversations?
Well, for me, active listening is about being present.
Okay.
It's not just hearing their words, but truly absorbing what they're saying, paying attention to their body language, and responding in a way that shows you're engaged.
So it's not just about asking the right questions.
Right.
It's about making the other person feel heard.
Exactly. You're creating a space where they feel understood.
Okay, so it's like building a bridge of understanding.
Yes, I like that.
Each question is like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And active listening is what holds it all together.
I love that analogy. And it reminds us that conversation is a two-way street.
Right. It's about giving and receiving, asking and listening.
Exactly. And when both people are present and engaged, that's when you get those like real moments of connection.
Those aha moments.
Yes. You don't get those from small talk.
Okay, so I'm sold. These 25 questions are way more powerful than I thought.
I know, right?
But I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Do you think there are times when a simple, direct question is better than an open-ended one?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And you're right. There are times when a direct question is more appropriate.
Okay.
Like if you need a specific piece of information or you're trying to clarify something.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, when you're trying to build rapport,
Right.
open-ended questions are the way to go.
Makes sense. You got to use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about being playful with your questions, too.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be afraid to add a little humor,
The source has this question in the fun category that always cracks me up.
Oh, yeah?
It's, what's the most embarrassing song you secretly love?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know, right?
It's guaranteed to get people laughing.
And sharing stories.
Yeah, it's a great way to break the ice.
Exactly. It shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
Right, because in the end, conversations are about connecting with other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to do that is to just let loose and have fun.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we've covered so much in this deep dive.
I know, right?
Like my whole view on how to start conversations has like totally shifted.
It's pretty cool how something so simple, like asking the right questions, can make such a big difference in how we connect with people.
Totally. So as we wrap up here, what are like the main takeaways you'd want our listeners to remember?
Well, first of all, those categories.
Yeah.
Remember those having like a mental toolkit of questions for all those different situations?
Yeah.
That can really help you feel more confident.
I like that.
No matter what the conversation throws at you.
It's like having a secret weapon for those moments, when you just go blank.
Exactly. And don't forget about the magic of open-ended questions.
Oh, right.
Those are key to like really getting those deep conversations going,
Yeah. It's about asking questions that get people to share their stories and their passions.
Yes. Their unique perspectives.
And of course, we can't forget about active listening.
Well, that's so important.
It's like the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, it lets you build those real connections.
It's amazing how much we can learn about someone when we really listen to what they have to say.
I know, it's true. So before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
Think about the last time you had a really great conversation. The kind that you just felt so engaged in.
Yeah.
What made it so memorable? Was it a certain question? Or the way the other person listened?
Yeah.
When we think back on our own experiences,
we
can learn even more about how to have amazing conversations.
That's such a good point. We're always learning,
We are.
So go out there, experiment with these questions, and most importantly, have fun connecting with people.
Happy conversing. Hey, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're looking into something really interesting. It's hidden fluency. Those signs that you're actually way better at English than you think.
That's a good one.
We found this article, and it's called 14 Signs You're More Fluent in English Than You Think. And honestly, some of these are pretty surprising. I had no idea.
Yeah. We always think of fluency as this perfect thing, but this article looks at it differently.
Yeah.
Like how well you actually communicate, not just, perfect grammar and all that.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It's like real world stuff, not just textbook rules.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with these 14 signs?
Well, a bunch of them are kind of connected, so we can group them up. Like, have you ever watched a movie, no subtitles or anything, and you still got what was going on, even if you didn't get every single word?
All the time. Wait, does that actually mean something about fluency? The article says it's like you're understanding the context, which is super important for communication. Like you're picking up on clues, not just the words themselves.
Yeah.
The situation, the other people, how they're talking.
Right. That makes sense. It's kind of like when someone uses a word you don't know, but you figure it out from the rest of what they're saying.
Exactly. Or even reading an article with some tough vocabulary. You get the main idea without looking up everything. The article says that's another sign.
So it's not about knowing every word, it's how you use the ones you do know.
Yeah. And this connects to another interesting thing. As you get more fluent, you might not be translating everything in your head anymore.
What? Really? I don't even realize I'm doing that.
It gets so automatic you don't notice. Like ordering food at a restaurant. Are you translating the whole menu before you talk?
No way. I just look and order what I want.
See? That probably means you're thinking in English already, which is like a big fluency thing.
Wow, this is making me rethink my whole English level. I didn't know these little things could be such a big deal.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it gets even cooler. The article says even how you think in English changes. Like when you're planning stuff or making sentences in your head.
Instead of thinking it in my own language first, I just think it in English now.
Exactly. It means you're so comfortable with it. It's becoming natural.
This is awesome. I'm already seeing these signs in myself. What else does the article talk about?
Well, we can't forget about idioms and slang, right?
Oh, I love a good idiom. They're so fun.
And the article says understanding and using them shows you really get the nuances of English. It's not just the words, it's the culture and the meaning behind them.
Yeah, like break the ice doesn't mean literally breaking ice. It means making things more relaxed, starting the conversation.
Exactly. And being able to not just understand, but USE those idioms. Shows you're going way beyond basic stuff. It's like a deeper level.
Okay, so we got understanding the situation, thinking in English, and using idioms and slang. 3 hidden signs already. What's next?
Let's get into how we actually talk in English. This might surprise you. The article says not overthinking your answers and even using filler words can actually be signs of fluency.
Wait, what? I thought filler words were bad, and like...
It's totally natural, especially for native speakers. Think about it. When you chat with a friend, do you plan every word before you say it?
No way. It's all about the flow.
Right. So if you can answer naturally without overthinking it, and maybe throw in some ums and likes, it could mean you're comfortable, like a native speaker.
That's such a relief. I always feel bad when I use those words, but maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Maybe not. But of course, it's all about balance. They should help your flow, not hurt it.
Right. That makes sense. What else about conversations does the article talk about?
This is interesting. It gets into humor and abstract topics. Those can be hard, even for people who are pretty fluent.
Oh, yeah. I remember struggling with English humor. I never got the jokes.
Well, think about it. Humor isn't just the words. It's the culture, the tone, all these little things. So understanding it means you're fluent on a deeper level.
And what about abstract topics, like philosophy and stuff?
The article says being able to talk about those big ideas means you have really good skills. It's not just describing things.
Yeah.
It's expressing complex thoughts.
That makes sense. When you're talking about something abstract, you have to be more careful with your words.
Exactly. And you know what? They even have a joke example in the article.
Oh, a joke. I love jokes. Tell me.
Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
I get it. Skeletons don't have guts, so they can't fight. It's funny because guts means courage, too.
Exactly. You understood the joke perfectly, which means you're getting those subtle things. It's not just knowing the words, it's understanding how they're used in a funny way.
Wow, I'm seeing fluency in a whole new light. We talked about context thinking in English. Idioms, slang filler, words, humor, abstract topics. So much already. What else is there?
There's more. The article talks about writing, understanding different accents, and most importantly, having the confidence to just go for it. But I think that's a lot for now. Maybe we let it all sink in and come back for the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. This is giving me so much to think about. Can't wait for the next part. Okay, we're back and ready for more hidden fluency. My mind is still blown from all those signs we talked about.
Yeah, there's a lot more. We're going through this article. 14 signs you're more fluent in English than you think. And we've got some really cool stuff to cover still.
Hit me with it. What else is there?
Well, we were talking about communication, right? Like those moments when things get tricky.
You mean like when you're trying to explain something and the other person just doesn't get it?
Exactly. The article says even those situations can show how fluent you are. If you can handle misunderstandings without freaking out, that's a good sign.
So it's not just about speaking perfectly. It's about knowing how to fix things when you need to.
Yeah. They say it's about being able to rephrase things, explain it differently, may use simpler words if they're not understanding you. It's all about keeping the conversation going.
That's true. I used to get so nervous when I had to explain myself. But I've gotten better at it over time. Maybe that's a fluency thing too.
It probably is. The more fluent you are, the more confident you feel, even when things don't go perfectly.
So handling misunderstandings, that's a sign of fluency. Interesting. What else is there about communication?
The article talks about changing your tone depending on who you're talking to.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you talk to your friend.
Exactly. Being able to change your tone, how you say things, your words, that shows you really get how to communicate in different situations.
It's like reading the room and knowing how to act right.
Yeah. It's being socially smart with the language. Yeah. They even give examples in the article, like how you would greet a friend versus how you would start a work meeting.
It's crazy how those little things make such a difference. Okay, so far we've got understanding the situation, thinking in English, idioms, slang, talking naturally with those filler words, understanding humor, abstract topics, handling misunderstandings, A&D, changing our tone. Did I miss anything?
Wow, you got it all. We're making good progress through these 14 signs, but we're not done yet. The article also talks about writing in English, understanding different accents, and the most important thing, having the confidence to just use your English.
Okay, let's talk writing. I think a lot of people get more nervous about writing than speaking. It feels so much more serious.
I get it. Writing is different. But the article says if you can write emails or messages naturally, without checking every grammar rule, that's actually a big deal.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about expressing yourself clearly.
Exactly. They give this example of a casual email to a coworker. Hi, Sarah. Just following up on the report. Let me know if you need anything else. Single to the point, gets the job done.
I like that. It's not about trying to sound super fancy. It's about using writing to communicate.
Right. Which brings us to understanding different accents. That can be tough.
Oh, yeah. When I first started watching British TV shows, I needed subtitles to understand anything.
That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But being able to understand different accents, whether it's British, American, Australian, whatever, it shows you have really good listening skills.
So it's not just about speaking, it's about understanding all the different ways people say it.
Yeah. It's a super useful skill, especially these days when we talk to people from all over the world. The article even talks about watching shows like Sherlock with those British accents, or Friends with the American accents, and being able to understand them without a problem.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I can watch those shows without subtitles now. Maybe I am more fluent than I thought.
That's awesome. Sounds like you're improving without even realizing it.
And that brings us to the last sign we'll talk about today, confidence. This one's really important.
Well, definitely. I think a lot of people are scared to speak English because they don't feel confident. That's why this article is so good. It says fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being comfortable enough to use your English, even if you make mistakes sometimes.
That makes me feel better. It's okay to mess up a little as long as you're communicating right.
Right. They have this example of someone correcting themselves while they're talking. Like yesterday I go to the park. I just went to the park.
Yeah.
The point is they fixed the mistake and kept going.
It's like it's okay to be human. We're not robots. Fluency is about connecting with people.
Exactly. It's about using English to build relationships, share ideas, and experience the world.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening, but it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
There's definitely more to talk about. But I think it's good to let all this sink in for a bit. And then we can come back for the last part of our deep dive and wrap it all up.
That sounds like a plan. I can't wait to see what else we uncover. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into hidden fluency.
It's amazing how much we learned about how we use English, isn't it?
I know. It's like we've been fluent all along, but we didn't even realize it. So now what? What do we do with all this new information?
Well, that's where the last part of this article gets really interesting. It's not just about knowing the signs. It's about how we think about our fluency, like shifting our mindset from what we're bad at to what we're good at.
I like that. So what kind of advice do they give?
First, they say to just think about your journey with English.
Like, where did you start and how far have you come? All those milestones.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget about all the progress we've made. We're always focused on what's next.
I know. But celebrating those wins, even the small ones, can really help us keep going. The article also says to look for chances to use English in real life, like talking to friends, watching movies, reading stuff, and notice how much you need help.
So it's about putting ourselves out there and just using the language.
Exactly. The more you do it, the more you'll realize you can actually do it. You can talk to people, understand things, express yourself. It's about focusing on what you can do.
I love that. It takes the pressure off of being perfect.
Right. And even celebrating those little wins is important. Like, if you understood a movie without subtitles, or explained something complicated in English, or had a good conversation with a native speaker, those are all wins.
It's like giving ourselves credit for how much we've learned.
Yeah. And this next one is super important. Don't compare yourself to others.
Oh, that's so hard, though. It's easy to look at other people and feel bad.
I know it's tempting. But everyone learns differently. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. The article says to focus on your journey and your goals.
That's good advice. It's like we're all running our own race.
Exactly. And fluency isn't about reaching some finish line. It's about using English to connect with people, share your thoughts, and see the world.
This whole deep dive has been so cool. I feel like I understand fluency in a totally new way.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And that's the message I want you to take away. Fluency is a journey. It's about always learning and growing, but it's also about appreciating how far you've come already.
I like that. Before we finish, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Good idea.
Yeah.
How about this? What's one thing about your English fluency that you want to work on?
That's a great question. It makes people think about what they're good at and what they want to improve.
Yeah. And there's no right or wrong answer. Maybe it's idioms or feeling more confident or understanding different accents. It's all about choosing your own path.
So true. Well, that's it for our deep dive into hidden fluency. Thanks for joining us. We hope you learned something new about your own English skills.
And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Keep practicing and keep celebrating your wins.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive. All right, so we're diving into something pretty cool today. I think you'll find it pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to be tackling this 20-minute script that we found.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about taking your English conversations like to a whole other level, you know, like going from basic to advanced. And I was actually really surprised by some of the stuff in here.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like the typical like learn these phrases approach.
Right.
It's more about like the psychology and like the subtle things behind a good conversation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it dives into greetings right away.
Yeah.
And I know you're probably thinking like, ugh, not another lesson on saying hello.
Right.
But trust me,
Okay.
this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So they're not just giving like alternative phrases to say.
Yeah.
They're talking about how those first few words that you say can like shape the whole interaction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I noticed that too. It definitely caught my eye when I first saw it.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they connect those first few words to like setting expectations and creating this sense of openness.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning.
Exactly. And like, for example, they suggest using how's life treating you instead of how are you?
Interesting.
And at first I was like, okay, like what's the big deal?
Right.
But then when I really thought about it, I was like, oh, it's like subtly signaling that you're open to a more genuine conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and like a deeper conversation.
Yeah, you're not just looking for the robotic, I'm fine.
Right, you're inviting them to share something real.
Yeah.
Not just like give a robotic answer back.
It's almost like giving a permission slip.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
A permission slip for a deeper conversation.
Right.
That's brilliant. And speaking of going deeper, this script really emphasizes moving past small talk.
Yeah.
Which I think we can all agree.
Totally.
We're kind of tired of it.
It's like the default,
Yeah.
but it never leads to anything really memorable.
Yeah. Exactly. And they give some really cool techniques for breaking out of that small talk rut.
Oh, cool.
One that stood out to me was using open-ended questions.
Okay.
So instead of just asking, how was your weekend?
Right.
Ask, what did you do over the weekend?
I see.
And, you know, at first I thought it was just about getting a longer answer.
Yeah.
But they talk about how it's connected to this psychological principle of self-disclosure. So when you ask an open-ended question,
Yeah.
you're encouraging the other person to reveal more about themselves,
Cool.
their experiences, their thoughts.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They were talking about how self-disclosure triggers a reciprocal response. So when we share something about ourselves, it makes the other person feel more comfortable sharing something about themselves too. So it creates like a sense of connection and trust.
Wow. So those open-ended questions are really powerful.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting more information.
Right.
It's like building that connection.
Yeah, it's like a dance.
Yeah.
Like you open up a bit, they open up a bit.
I like it.
And all of a sudden you're having a real exchange.
Yeah.
Not just like pleasantries.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you know what else I thought was really cool?
What's that?
They talk about incorporating personal updates,
Oh, yeah.
but in a way that invites further conversation.
Yes.
So instead of saying like, oh, I'm so busy,
Yeah.
you say something like, work has been keeping me on my toes, but I'm learning so much. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, I love that example.
Yeah.
Bro, it's so cool.
Gives the other person something to hook on to.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just shutting down the conversation.
Right. You're inviting them in a little bit.
Even if it's just for a moment.
Right. And it all goes back to that reciprocity thing. Like when you share a little piece of yourself,
right,
you're encouraging them to do the same.
Keeps the conversation flowing.
Yeah.
Creates that mutual interest.
Exactly. And it's like you're saying, hey, I'm interested in your...
Yeah.
I'm willing to share and I want to hear what you have to say.
It's all about those subtle cues.
Yeah.
That get the conversation going.
Definitely going to try that one out.
Yeah.
And there's another technique they highlight that I thought was really insightful.
Oh, what's that?
They call it active listening.
Okay.
And it's basically going beyond just hearing the words.
Right.
And actually demonstrating that you're engaged and genuinely interested.
I think we underestimate that a lot.
I know, right?
The power of just showing that we care.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And they give some really practical tips for doing this.
Oh, cool. Like what?
So like instead of just saying, that's cool, you know, try saying something like, that's fascinating. How did you get into that?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Or wow, I'd love to hear more about it.
Those go beyond just acknowledging.
Yeah.
Like you really want to understand.
Exactly. And it can be so powerful for building rapport.
Yeah. And making the other person feel heard.
Right. Like you're saying, you're interesting and what you have to say matters to me.
Yeah. And isn't that what we all want to hear?
I think so.
Yeah.
It taps into that human need for connection and validation.
Totally. And I think that's something we can all get better at.
Yeah.
No matter how good we are at conversation.
You're right about that. And speaking of getting better, the script also dives into expressing opinions.
Oh, okay.
In a thoughtful and engaging way.
Okay.
I'll admit, this is an area where I struggle sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How's
like,
that?
I don't want to come across as too strong or dismissive, but I also want to be able to share my perspective.
You want to be authentic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they tackle that head on in the script.
They do.
Yeah, they really encourage us to move beyond simple agreement or disagreement.
Right.
And actually share the why behind our opinions.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, I think that's a good idea, you could say, in my opinion, it's a great idea because it addresses X and Y.
Right.
However, I'm wondering about the potential impact on Z.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
It adds so much more nuance and depth.
It makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
And it invites further discussion.
Totally.
And I love how they emphasize respecting the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree.
Right.
So they suggest using phrases like, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Oh, that's good.
Or, I see what you mean, but I have a slightly different perspective.
It's about creating that space for dialogue where different viewpoints can be explored.
Without judgment or defensiveness.
How?
I am really digging this approach.
Me too.
It's all about fostering understanding.
Right.
Not just trying to win an argument.
Exactly. And you know what?
Rates that?
I think that's a perfect segue into the next section of this script.
Okay.
Which focuses on those advanced phrases that can elevate your conversations.
Oh, cool.
You're right. That is a great transition.
Thanks.
It's like taking those fundamental principles, the respect, the understanding, and weaving them into how you speak.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you're taking those building blocks, you know, the respect, the understanding, and you're expressing them in like a more nuanced, sophisticated way.
Exactly. It's like adding those finishing touches, you know, that make a conversation really sparkle.
Yeah.
And they have some real gems in this script, like phrases that go beyond just like, you know, the I agree or I disagree.
Right. Like you hit the nail on the head.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm totally stealing that one.
Yeah. It's so much more powerful than just saying Yeah, I think so too.
Right. And they also have some good phrases for when you want to disagree.
Oh, yeah.
But without sounding like confrontational.
Yeah, like instead of saying, I disagree,
Right.
which can be kind of abrupt.
Yeah.
You could say something like, I see it differently because, or, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
But have you considered?
It's like you're opening up a space for debate,
Yeah.
but it's still respectful.
Right. You're acknowledging their perspective, but you're still presenting your own.
And that's such a key skill.
Yeah.
In any conversation.
Whether it's casual or professional.
Right. It's that balance between assertiveness and respect.
Right.
Which leads to better conversations.
Yeah. More engaging.
One phrase that I found really interesting that they suggested was, I've always wondered about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's so simple.
It is.
But it's such a good way to express curiosity.
Right.
And keep the conversation flowing.
And it kind of shifts the focus to the other person's expertise.
Right.
You're saying, you know something I don't, and I want to learn from you.
It's like a conversational invitation.
Yeah.
It's
really nice.
And it taps into that universal desire to share our knowledge and experience.
Yeah, to be helpful.
Right. And it makes you sound interested, which is always a good thing.
Always a plus.
Yeah, for sure.
It leads to those aha moments, too.
It does.
Where you learn something new.
Right. Or you gain a fresh perspective.
Totally.
Okay, so we've talked about greetings, moving past small talk, active listening,
right,
expressing opinions, and even using some of those more advanced phrases.
Yeah.
But there's one key element that they emphasize throughout the whole script.
What's that?
Confidence.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the secret ingredient that makes all of these techniques work.
Right. Like you can have the most eloquent phrases.
Yeah.
The most insightful questions. But if you don't deliver them with confidence,
it's not going to have the same effect. It's like that saying, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Exactly. And the script really reminds us that confidence comes from practice.
Right.
And repetition.
Yeah.
Like getting comfortable with these techniques, trying them out in different situations.
Right.
Making mistakes along the way.
I think that's something we often forget. Giving ourselves permission to stumble.
Oh.
We're so focused on being perfect.
Right.
That we hold ourselves back.
We're afraid to experiment.
Yeah.
To play with language.
And to let our personality shine through.
Yeah. And that's a shame.
It is.
Because I think that's where the real magic happens.
I agree.
When you just let go of that fear and you're just yourself.
Yeah, you're authentic. And you know what else I love?
What?
They talk about vulnerability as a strength.
It is.
And that's something I'm really trying to embrace.
Yeah, it's not a weakness.
Right.
It's a strength.
For sure.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not a destination.
Right.
The more we embrace that journey, the more fun it becomes.
And speaking of the journey, this script doesn't just leave us hanging,
Right.
They give us all these amazing techniques and then say, good luck.
Right. They give us advice.
Yeah. They give us some really practical advice for putting all of this into action.
Like finding opportunities to practice.
Yeah.
Whether it's with a language partner or in a conversation group.
Or even just recording yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And listening back.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they really emphasize that.
It is. And there are so many resources out there these days.
There are.
Like language exchange apps.
Online forums.
Yeah.
Virtual conversation classes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
All at our fingertips.
And I think one of the best ways to practice is just recording yourself.
That is a great tip.
Speaking and listening back.
Yeah.
To identify areas where you can improve.
Yeah. Because it really allows you to
step outside yourself.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, that's how I sound.
Right. Are you using those filler words?
Yeah.
Are you rushing? Are you pausing?
Right.
To let the other person respond?
Yeah. It's amazing what you notice.
It is.
When you listen back.
Yeah. And, sometimes it's cringy.
It can be.
But it's also really insightful.
It is.
Like you can turn those observations into opportunities to grow.
Right. And what I find really encouraging is that the script reminds us that progress, not perfection, is the goal.
That's true.
It's okay to stumble.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
To not always get it right.
Right.
That's where the real learning happens.
It is.
In those moments of imperfection.
Yeah.
We discover what works, what doesn't. What we need to adjust.
And that's what I love about this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect.
It's about the process of growth.
It's about embracing the process of growth.
Yeah.
And continuously striving to be better.
To be more confident.
Yeah.
More engaging.
More authentic.
More authentic, yeah.
Right.
It's about recognizing that communication is a skill that we can always improve.
And the more we invest in that, the more rewarding our interactions become.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well said. I think we did a pretty good job unpacking this script.
Yeah, I think we hit the nail on the head.
And you know what? Yeah. I know you're probably thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually make it happen?
Right.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're not going to leave you hanging.
Okay, good.
In the final segment, we're going to give you some specific tips.
Awesome.
And strategies.
Perfect.
To put all this into action.
Great.
So we've explored all these cool techniques, from upgrading our greetings to expressing opinions and even sprinkling in some of those advanced phrases. But how do we actually make this happen, in our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's the real challenge, right? Like, it's one thing to understand it all, but actually putting it into practice.
Yeah, exactly. It can be kind of daunting. Like, where do I even start?
Right. Well, I think it helps to start with self-awareness. Pay attention to your current conversational habits. Like, what are your go-to phrases?
Yeah.
Are you asking open-ended questions? Are you really listening? Or just waiting for your turn to speak?
That's such a good point. It's like taking inventory before you start adding new tools.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you've kind of identified those areas where you can improve, you start incorporating the new techniques, but it's going to feel awkward at first.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I remember when I first tried to use more open-ended questions, it felt so forced and unnatural.
Yeah.
But then I realized that's just part of the process,
It's like learning any new skill.
Right.
It takes time and practice.
It's like learning a new dance move.
Exactly. You're going to step on some toes at first.
Yeah. But the more you practice, the smoother it gets.
And eventually you don't even have to think about it.
It just becomes natural.
Right. And speaking of practice, the script emphasizes finding opportunities to try out these techniques in a safe environment.
Yeah, like a language partner or conversation group.
Right. Where you can experiment without feeling self-conscious.
And there are so many options now, like language exchange apps.
Oh, yeah. Online forums.
Virtual conversation classes.
Amazing.
And you know what? I think one of the best ways to practice is just recording yourself.
Well, that's a good one.
Speaking and then listening back.
Yeah, you can really step outside of yourself and listen to how you sound.
Are you using filler words? Are you rushing? Are you pausing?
It's amazing what you can notice when you listen back.
Yeah, it can be a little cringy.
Yeah.
But it's so insightful.
It really is. And you can turn those observations into opportunities to grow.
Right. And what I find really encouraging is that the script reminds us that progress, not perfection, is the goal.
Yeah. It's okay to stumble.
It's okay to make mistakes. You're not going to get it right every time.
Right. That's where the real learning happens.
It's in those moments of imperfection, where we figure out what works and what doesn't.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this whole deep dive.
Yeah, me too.
It's not about becoming perfect overnight.
It's about the journey.
It's about embracing that journey of growth and continuously striving to be better communicators.
More confident, more engaging, more authentic.
Exactly. And recognizing that communication is a skill that we can always work on.
Yeah. And the more we invest in it, the more rewarding those interactions become.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question. What kind of conversations do you want to be having? And what steps can you take today to start leveling up your communication skills?
It's a journey worth taking. And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
There are so many resources and communities out there to support you.
So go out there, have those conversations, make those connections, and keep exploring the power of language.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
We love to explore interesting topics.
Absolutely.
And you guys shared an awesome script with us.
Yeah.
All about 200 advanced English words.
200.
It's like a crash course in next level vocabulary.
It really is.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
We're not just gonna read through a list.
Right.
We're gonna actually break down some of the coolest words.
Yes, some of the gems in here.
And talk about how you can use them to make your communication more powerful.
More impactful. I love that.
Right. Like, how can you sprinkle these words into your everyday life and sound amazing?
Exactly. Because it's one thing to know a word, but it's another thing to actually use it effectively.
Yeah. So we're going to be diving into different categories, from describing people to expressing complex ideas, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too. Okay, so let's jump right into the first category from the script. It's all about opinions and ideas.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. And one of the first words that really jumped out at me was articulate.
Articulate.
Yeah. Now you might think, okay, articulate just means speaking clearly, but I think it goes a bit deeper than that.
I agree. When you're articulate, you're not just speaking clearly, you're expressing yourself in a way that's persuasive and engaging.
Right. It's like you're painting a picture with your words.
Exactly. And people are drawn to that.
Okay, so think about someone like Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah. Great example.
He's known for being like a super articulate speaker.
Absolutely. Yeah. His ability to explain complicated ideas in a simple and compelling way is really remarkable.
And it's not just about politics.
Right.
Being articulate is a huge asset no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether you're in a meeting, giving a presentation, or even just having a conversation with friends, being able to express yourself clearly and persuasively is a game changer.
Totally. All right, so next up we have a word that's all about like the slippery nature of meaning ambiguous.
Ambiguous. Oh, yeah. I've definitely encountered my fair share of ambiguity.
Me too. Have you ever gotten an email or a text message and you're like, wait, what are they actually trying to say?
Yeah. All the time.
That's ambiguity for you.
It's like a linguistic fog that can lead to all sorts of misunderstandings.
Totally. Sometimes it's unintentional, but sometimes it's deliberate, like in poetry or creative writing.
Yeah. To add a layer of mystery.
Right. So it can be both frustrating and fascinating.
Depends on the context.
Okay, now this next word is one of my favorites. Paradox.
Oh, paradox. Love it.
Our source material gives this example. It's a paradox that technology makes life easier but more stressful.
Oh, yeah. That's so true.
Like, we've got all these gadgets and apps that are supposed to simplify our lives.
Right.
But we're constantly bombarded with information and notifications, and it can feel super overwhelming.
Totally. It's like this double-edged sword.
Exactly. And paradoxes like this, they really make you think.
They do. They challenge our assumptions and force us to look at things from multiple perspectives.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about a word that's all about evidence and proof, empirical.
Empirical.
So empirical basically means relying on observation and experience.
Yeah. Instead of just theory or speculation.
Right. It's about looking at the facts.
It's the foundation of scientific inquiry, but it's also relevant in our everyday lives.
Totally. Like, let's say you're trying to figure out the best coffee shop in your neighborhood. You could just go with your gut feeling.
Or you could take an empirical approach.
Right. You could read online reviews, check out ratings, ask your friends for recommendations.
Gather some data.
Exactly. It's about making decisions based on evidence rather than just guesswork.
Makes sense.
So are you ready to move on to the next category?
I am. Bring it on.
It's all about describing people, and I think you're going to love this one.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Because we're going to be talking about words that really capture different personality types.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So let's start with a word that just exudes charm and magnetism.
Charismatic.
Charismatic.
Oh, like Oprah.
Yes, Oprah is like the ultimate charismatic person.
Absolutely. She just has this aura that draws people in.
Right. It's like she lights up a room.
And it's not just about looks. It's about energy and confidence and genuine warmth.
Totally. Now imagine someone who's the complete opposite of charismatic. Someone who sees the world through a lens of pessimism and distrust.
Okay, got it.
That's where cynical comes in.
Cynical, yeah.
A cynical person might assume that everyone is acting out of self-interest or that there's always a hidden agenda.
Right. They're always looking for the catch.
And while it's good to be a little bit skeptical,
of course,
too much cynicism can be kind of a downer.
It can definitely make it hard to see the good in people and situations.
Okay, then there's a personality type that's all about themselves. Narcissistic.
Narcissistic. Oh, yeah, we all know a few of those.
Right. This word describes someone who's like excessively self-centered, constantly seeking admiration, and often lacking empathy for others.
Like they're living in their own little world.
Totally. But let's not dwell on the negative.
Okay.
We also have a word that celebrates resilience and inner strength. Resilient.
Resilient. I love that word.
Me too. It's about being able to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to change, and keep going, even when things get tough.
It's like having an inner spring that helps you bounce back from adversity.
Exactly. And it's such an inspiring quality.
It is. We can all learn a lot from resilient people.
Okay, so are you ready for some action?
Oh, yeah. Do it.
And the first word we're going to tackle is bolster.
Bolster. Okay.
So bolster basically means to strengthen or support something.
Like a coach giving a pep talk to their team.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're trying to bolster their confidence and motivate them to perform their best.
Makes sense.
And you can bolster all sorts of things, like an argument with strong evidence, or your immune system with healthy habits.
Right, it's about giving something a boost.
Okay, so next up is facilitate.
Facilitate. Now, this one is all about teamwork and collaboration.
Exactly. Like, imagine a project manager who's running a meeting. They're trying to facilitate a productive discussion by making sure everyone has a chance to share their ideas and that the conversation stays on track.
Right, so they're not necessarily the one coming up with all the ideas, but they're creating an environment where ideas can flow freely.
Yeah, and that's what facilitate's all about. It's about making a process smoother and more efficient.
I like that.
Okay, so now imagine a detective who's carefully examining a crime scene.
Ooh, getting intense.
Or a scientist who's meticulously analyzing data.
Okay.
That's where scrutinize comes in.
Scrutinize.
To scrutinize means to examine something really closely, often with a critical eye.
Right. It's about going beyond the surface level and digging into the details.
Exactly. And you might scrutinize a contract before signing it.
Oh yeah, good example.
Or scrutinize a piece of art to understand its deeper meaning.
So it's about paying attention to the little things.
Yes. And lastly, we have undermine.
Undermine. Okay, this one sounds a bit sneaky.
It can be. Undermine means to weaken or damage something, often gradually or subtly.
Like a slow leak that eventually causes a tire to go flat.
Exactly. It's not always a dramatic, sudden thing.
Right. It can be more insidious.
Okay, so think about a rumor spreading through an office.
Okay.
It can slowly undermine someone's reputation.
Yeah, damaging their credibility over time.
Or a series of small setbacks.
Right.
They can gradually undermine a team's morale.
So it's like chipping away at something until it's weakened.
Exactly. And that's what makes undermine so powerful.
Because it often happens under the radar.
All right, so are you ready to explore the world of emotions?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling all the feels.
Because that's what's up next. We're diving into emotion vocabulary.
Bring on the feels.
And I'm excited about this category because it's all about adding depth and nuance to how we express our feelings.
I love that.
Right? Because life is full of emotional ups and downs, and having a rich vocabulary to describe those experiences can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's like having a finely tuned instrument to express the full range of human emotions.
Okay, so let's start with ecstatic. Ecstatic captures that feeling of pure bliss and exhilaration.
Like winning the lottery.
Yes! Or like achieving a long-held dream.
Or finally finishing that huge project you've been working on forever.
It's like that moment when you're just like, yes, this is amazing.
Pure joy.
Now contrast that with content.
Content. Okay, so a little more subdued.
Yeah. Content is about a quieter, more settled form of happiness.
Like that feeling of peace and gratitude you experience when you're surrounded by loved ones.
Or simply enjoying a beautiful day.
Yeah. It's about appreciating the simple things.
Right. It's not about chasing after fleeting moments of excitement.
But rather finding joy in the everyday moments of life.
I love that. Okay, now let's get a little moody.
Ooh, I'm ready.
Melancholy is a word that evokes a deep, pensive sadness, often tinged with a sense of longing or nostalgia.
Melancholy. It's like that feeling you get when you listen to a song that reminds you of a past love.
Or when you visit a place that holds special memories.
It's bittersweet, a mix of sadness and beauty.
And it can be quite inspiring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of great art and literature has been born out of melancholy.
Okay, so have you ever been in a situation where you're waiting for something important to happen?
Yeah, like results from a test.
Exactly. And you just can't shake that feeling of anxiety or unease?
Oh, I know that feeling.
That's apprehensive in a nutshell.
Apprehensive. It's like a knot in your stomach.
Yeah. And it can be really hard to relax when you're feeling apprehensive.
Totally.
Right.
Because you're kind of stuck in this state of anticipation and uncertainty.
And on the flip side, we have zealous.
Zealous?
This word describes someone who's intensely passionate and enthusiastic about something.
Oh, like a super fan at a concert.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or a volunteer who's dedicating their time to a cause they believe in.
It's that contagious energy and excitement.
And zealous people, they just have this infectious energy that can be really inspiring.
Totally. They make you want to get involved and be passionate about something too.
Now, before we wrap things up, let's talk about those little words that play a big role in making our writing and speaking clear and coherent.
Okay. You mean like transition words and phrases?
Exactly. These words are like the glue that holds our sentences and paragraphs together.
Right. They guide the reader or listeners smoothly from one idea to the next.
And they might seem insignificant, but mastering them can really elevate your communication skill.
Totally. It's like adding polish to a piece of writing.
So our source material highlights a bunch of these transition words and phrases.
Okay.
But let's focus on a few key pairs that illustrate how these words create different relationships between ideas.
Sounds good. I like that approach.
Okay, so let's start with moreover and however.
Moreover and however. Okay.
So moreover is like adding another layer of support to your argument.
Okay.
You might say regular exercise is good for your physical health. Moreover, it can improve your mental well-being and reduce stress.
So you're building on your previous point.
Exactly. You're providing additional reasons to support your claim.
Like saying, and here's even more to consider.
Now, however, introduces a contrasting idea or a shift in perspective.
Okay, so it's like a plot twist.
Kind of. You might say the team played their hearts out. However, they were unable to overcome their opponent's strong defense.
So you're acknowledging the first statement, but then presenting a different angle.
Right. It's like saying that there's a catch, or here's a different way to look at it.
Gotcha.
Another interesting pair is consequently and nevertheless.
Consequently and nevertheless. Yeah, I'm following.
So consequently highlights a cause and effect relationship.
Okay.
You might say the company implemented a new marketing strategy. Consequently, their sales increased significantly.
So the second statement is a direct result of the first.
Yes, it's like saying this happened because of that.
Makes sense.
And lastly, we have nevertheless.
Nevertheless.
Which acknowledges a challenge or obstacle, but then emphasizes that something else is still true despite that challenge.
Okay, so it's like saying, despite this, we still did that.
Exactly. You might say the weather was absolutely dreadful. Nevertheless, we decided to go for a hike anyway.
So it shows determination.
Yes, it's about persevering even in the face of adversity.
I like that.
And it's amazing how these small words,
They really are.
they can have such a big impact on the flow and clarity of our communication.
It's like they add this subtle but important layer of meaning.
And speaking of practice, our source material also includes some helpful exercises
Good.
to solidify your understanding of these advanced words.
Yeah, because it's one thing to know the definitions.
Right.
But it's another thing to actually use them in context.
So we encourage you to check those exercises out.
Absolutely. It's a fun way to put your new vocabulary to the test.
And you know what else I love about this script?
What's that?
It's not just about defining words.
Right.
It's also about exploring the nuances of language.
The subtle shades of meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how those nuances can help us communicate more effectively.
It's about becoming more mindful of the words we choose and how they impact our listeners.
And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting.
It is. It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities with language.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll continue exploring these amazing words.
Can't wait. Yeah, it's like being the conductor of an orchestra. You're guiding the flow and making sure everything works together harmoniously.
I like that analogy. Okay, so now let's talk about a word that implies weakening or damaging something, often gradually or subtly. Undermine.
It's like a slow leak that eventually causes a tire to go flat.
Right. It's not always a sudden dramatic thing.
So think about a rumor spreading through an office. It can slowly undermine someone's reputation.
Yeah, chipping away at their credibility over time.
Or a series of small setbacks that can gradually undermine a team's morale.
It's like a termite infestation. You don't see the damage right away, but it's slowly eating away at the foundation.
Exactly. And that's what makes undermine so powerful. It often happens under the radar.
Right. You might not even realize it's happening until it's too late.
All right. Are you ready to dive into the world of emotions?
Oh yeah, bring on the feels.
Because that's what's up next in our source material. We're exploring emotion vocabulary. I love this category. It's all about adding depth and nuance to how we express our feelings.
Right, because life is full of emotional ups and downs, and having a rich vocabulary to describe those experiences can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's like having a whole palette of colors to paint your emotional landscape.
I like that. Okay, so let's start with ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
Ecstatic captures that feeling of pure bliss and exhilaration.
Like when you achieve a long-held dream or experience something truly extraordinary.
It's that moment when you're just like, yes, this is amazing. I'm so happy.
Pure joy.
Now contrast that with content.
Content. Okay, a little more mellow.
Yeah, content represents a quieter, more settled form of happiness.
Like that feeling of peace and gratitude you experience when you're surrounded by loved ones or simply enjoying a quiet evening at home.
It's about appreciating the simple things in life and feeling at peace with yourself and your surroundings.
It's not about chasing after fleeting moments of excitement.
Right. It's about finding joy in the everyday moments. Okay, so now let's get a little moody too. Melancholy is a word that evokes a deep, pensive sadness, often tinged with a sense of longing or nostalgia.
Melancholy. It's like that feeling you get when you listen to a song that reminds you of a past love, or when you visit a place that holds special memories.
It's bittersweet, a mix of sadness and beauty.
And it can be quite inspiring, actually. A lot of great art and literature has been born out of melancholy.
Totally. Sometimes you need to embrace those feelings to tap into your creativity.
I agree.
Now, have you ever been in a situation where you're waiting for something important to happen, like results from a test or an important decision, and you just can't shake that feeling of anxiety or unease?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling all too well.
That's apprehensive in a nutshell.
Apprehensive. It's like a knot in your stomach.
Yeah. And it can be really hard to relax when you're feeling apprehensive because you're kind of stuck in this state of anticipation and uncertainty.
It's that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen, and it can be both exciting and nerve-wracking.
Exactly. And on the flip side, we have zealous. This word describes someone who is intensely passionate and enthusiastic about something.
Like a sports fan cheering wildly for their team, or a volunteer working tirelessly for a cause they believe in.
Yeah, zealous people have this infectious energy that can be really inspiring.
They're so committed and dedicated to whatever it is they're passionate about.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's talk about those little words that play a big role in making our writing and speaking clear and coherent transition words and phrases.
Oh yeah, these are important.
These words are like the glue that holds our sentences and paragraphs together, guiding the reader or listener smoothly from one idea to the next.
Right, they provide structure and flow.
And they might seem insignificant, but mastering them can really elevate your communication skills.
Totally. They can make your writing more sophisticated and your speaking more engaging.
Our source material highlights a bunch of these transition words and phrases, but let's focus on a few key pairs that illustrate how these words create different relationships between ideas.
Oh, okay. I like that approach.
So let's start with moreover and however.
Moreover and however.
Moreover is like adding another layer of support to your argument. You might say, regular exercise is good for your physical health. Moreover, it can improve your mental well-being and reduce stress.
So you're building on your previous point, providing additional evidence or reasons to support your claim.
Exactly. You're essentially saying, and here's even more to consider.
Okay.
Now, however, introduces a contrasting idea or a shift in perspective. You might say, the team played their hearts out. However, they were unable to overcome their opponent's strong defense.
So you're acknowledging the first statement, but then presenting a different angle.
Right. It's like saying, but there's a catch, or here's a different way to look at it.
Gotcha.
Another interesting pair is consequently and nevertheless.
Consequently and nevertheless.
Okay.
So consequently highlights a cause and effect relationship. You might say, the company implemented a new marketing strategy. Consequently, their sales increased significantly.
So the second statement is a direct result of the first.
Exactly. It's like saying, this happened because of that.
Makes sense. And lastly, we have nevertheless, which acknowledges a challenge or obstacle, but then emphasizes that something else is still true despite that challenge. Yeah. You might say, the weather was absolutely dreadful. Nevertheless, we decided to go for a hike anyway.
So it shows determination to persevere, even in the face of adversity.
Exactly. It's like saying, despite this, we still did that.
I like that. It conveys a sense of resilience.
And it's amazing how these small words can have such a big impact on the flow and clarity of our communication.
They really do. It's like they add this subtle but important layer of meaning.
And speaking of practice, our source material also includes some helpful exercises to solidify your understanding of these advanced words.
Oh, those are good. I always like a good vocabulary workout.
Me too. And it's one thing to understand the definitions, but actually using the words in context is what really helps them stick.
Exactly. It's like learning a new dance move. You can watch someone else do it 1,000 times, but until you get out on the dance floor and try it yourself, you won't truly master it.
So we encourage you to check out those exercises and put your new vocabulary to the test.
Have fun with it.
Now, as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into these 200 advanced English words, what are some key takeaways you think our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, I think it's important to remember that expanding your vocabulary is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Right. It's not about memorizing a list of words. It's about developing a love of language and a curiosity about how words can be used to express ourselves more effectively.
Exactly. And I encourage listeners to not be afraid to make mistakes. Using new words can feel a bit awkward at first, but the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
It's like trying on a new outfit. You might feel a little self-conscious at first, but once you get used to it, you start to rock it with confidence.
I love that analogy.
And remember, the goal is not to sound pretentious or use big words just for the sake of it. It's about choosing the right words to convey your message with clarity, precision, and impact.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional with your language.
And the best part is, this is just the beginning. The source material we explored is just a starting point. There are countless other words and phrases out there waiting to be discovered.
The world of language is vast and constantly evolving.
So what are some areas of vocabulary that you think would be particularly interesting to explore further?
Well, I think it would be fascinating to delve into the language of specific fields like science, technology, or art. Each field has its own unique jargon and terminology, and understanding those words can open up whole new worlds of knowledge and understanding.
That's a great idea. It's like learning a secret code that allows you to access a whole new community and way of thinking.
Precisely. And as you expand your vocabulary, you'll find that you're not just learning new words, you're also expanding your mind and your ability to connect with others on a deeper level.
So to our listeners, I leave you with this final thought. Now that you've had a taste of these advanced words, what other areas of vocabulary would you like to explore? Perhaps delve deeper into specific fields like science, technology, or art. Or maybe you're interested in exploring the etymology of words and how their meanings have evolved over time. The world of language is your oyster. Go out there and explore it.
Happy exploring. It's about finding the words that best capture your thoughts and feelings and using them in a way that resonates with your audience.
And that's a skill that takes time and practice.
Absolutely. But it's so worth it.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into these 200 advanced English words, what are some key takeaways you think our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to remember that expanding your vocabulary is an ongoing journey.
It's not like you reach a certain level and then you're done.
Exactly. It's about constantly seeking out new words, experimenting with them, and finding ways to weave them into your everyday communication.
And it's not just about sounding smart. It's about being able to express yourself with more nuance and precision.
And to connect with others on a deeper level.
So I encourage our listeners to embrace this journey and to have fun with it.
Absolutely, because language is a powerful tool, and the more words you have at your disposal, the more effectively you can use it.
And remember, this deep dive is just a starting point.
Yeah, there's a whole world of words out there waiting to be discovered.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep expanding your vocabulary.
Happy wordsmithing, everyone.